Good morning, students. I am Mrs. Nieuwoud, presenting you English and Academic Communication Skills 101. And this contact class is on the exams for 2021. As you know by now, some of the courses have been combined. The examinations for 2021, which will be April, August, and November, have been compiled and requested by the IOL office using the study guides of the following courses: the DJPE, the DPPE, the DES, BESP, ACSE, ACPE, and the DSE courses. The following will guide you in your preparation for the examination for this subject. It is important to note that the most important preparation that you have to do is the following. Firstly, work through your study guide with care and diligence, and do all the learning activities in the guide, and then check the answers given at the end of the module. If you have not mastered the content of the study guide, you may have difficulty preparing for the examination. Ensure that you know and can apply the linguistic constructs of the language, which is in Unit 4. Like everything else in life, a language must be practiced to perfect its use. The more you read, the better your language will get, and the more you speak the language, the more confidence you will develop. The following is important information for you for your upcoming examinations. The examination format will be: the duration of your paper will be 2.5 hours, and it counts up to 120 marks. The examination script consists out of 4 questions with subsections. It is important that you answer all the questions with the subsections. And your study material for all the study guides the study guide is on the Kindle or on hard copy for all the subjects. And the new combined IOL study guide for DJPE is also important. The content of the DPPE, BSP, ACPE, ACSE, DSE, and DES study guides are exactly the same, and references will therefore be the same. DPPE, BSP, DES, ACPE, DSE, and ACSE students will also be referred to the Lutheran book that has to be used as indicated in their study guides. The DJPE students only have to use their new IOL study guide, and references will be made from this guide. Please make use of old question papers and feedback of previous assignments and examinations in your examination preparation. There you will find questions and answers that could be of good use. All answers consist of facts that you will have to study from your study guide, as well as the Lutheran handbook for the DPPE, BSP, DSE, and DES students. For the language construct questions, you must understand the spoken and written language as well. Now, to understand the questions, every piece of information can be assessed in a number of ways, and the examination papers are set up in 3 levels. Each question usually starts with a verb. So, very important, please pay special attention to the verbs used and make sure that you understand what each verb means and what is expected of you in answering the question. While I am on the verbs, I just would like to point it out that you will be disqualified if you are asked in a question to discuss, and instead of discuss the question, you name or you list the question. Then you will surely lose some marks, and that could be valuable marks. These verbs will guide you to that action you are expected to perform. Failing to perform the correct action will result in low marks and or loss of valuable marks, which I've just discussed. Please make sure that you know that the verbs in front of your study guide, what they mean in order to answer the questions correctly. And make sure you know what the different verb instruction words on page 10 to 12 mean. And very important, all answers consist of facts that you will have to study from your study guide. General ideas will not be awarded any marks. I would like to point out, and as I've said, when marking and giving feedback on your assignments as well, you won't get any marks if you give me answers from the internet, from any website. I am marking according to the study guide. And unfortunately, I am your tutor and your marker. So by this time, you know that I mark facts from the study guide. For the language structured questions, you must understand the spoken and the written language as I've said before. Plan your time wisely and write as quickly and neatly as you can. Manage your time to ensure that you finish in time. If time permits, read through your answers and correct possible mistakes. You must also make sure that you have answered all the questions. Your instructions, very important. Some students write everything in capital letters. Only use capital letters as indicated in the DJPE Study Guide 2.1.2 and in the Lutheran book on page 10. And I want to add to that one, and some of the students write very, very tiny, weeny little letters, which I hardly can read. So make sure that you write in legible writing. It is very important when you write letters, essays, grammatical sentence, etc., to use the correct punctuation. The marker wants to see whether you know how to use the capital letters. Very important. The paper is set up so that you write on the paper itself. The number of lines given will also help you to determine the length of the answer. Some students write way too much and give unnecessary information, while others write too little information. On that one, I would like to add that if a question tells you that it counts 5 marks, then it means you have to give me 5 facts. You can't give me 1 fact and expect me to give you a 5 marks. So look at the marks and write facts according to the marks. Also look at the marks allocated, that's what I've said, to each question to determine how many facts to write to obtain the correct marks. When changing sentences to the passive voice or the indirect speech or into the past tense, please only write down the correct sentence. It is confusing to the marker if you copy the given sentences from the exam paper and then rewrite the correct answer. The lines given are limited and you might not be able to fit in the correct answer if you do it in this way. Your scripts for 2021. References are done according to the Kindle, as all the students have the Kindle. Page references are also done in brackets according to the actual study guides. These references are for all DJPE, DPPE, BESP, DES and DSE, ACPE, ACSE students. See which refers to your own study material. Please note, only one presentation will be recorded for all the examinations, which is in April, August and November of 2021. There will not be a presentation for each examination as it was done previously. These references are for all the students and see which refers to your own study material. For the April, August and November 2021 examinations, you may concentrate on the following. References are not done in particular order, and you can expect the following in any of 3 examination scripts. A multiple choice question. You will be given a multiple choice question in the examination. There and here is what you will have to do concerning the question. Read the questions properly. As soon as you have decided on the correct answer, draw a circle around the correct letter, like in A, around B, around C, or D. All the answers to these questions are to be found in your study guide. And therefore, you have to go through the whole of your study guide in order to know and to answer these multiple choice questions correctly. You will have to identify the different parts of speech of words underlined in sentences. You can find information about this in any good grammar book or in your Lutheran book. DPPE, BESP, DSE, ACP and ACSE will find it in Lutheran on page 15, while the DJPE will find it on page 253. Every word in a sentence is named according to its function. For example, the adjective is a describing word, like in the blue sky or the ugly man, a beautiful girl, a sunny day. The adjective actually describes the noun. So if you have a noun and it tells you something about the noun, then it is an adjective. The pronoun stands in place of a noun, like instead of saying Andrew find Andrew's book, you will say Andrew will find his book. He, she, they, were, you, us, etc. The verb is the doing word, which will tell you if I am busy doing it, like sitting, walking, crying, write, drive, sleep, etc. The adverb tells you more about the verb. That's why it says it's add to the verb, like writing neatly, recklessly driving, walking slowly. So it tells you more about the verb, and that's why it's called the adverb. It adds to the verb. The preposition is a very small word which usually relates 2 words or phrases to one another. And I usually explain it to not only to students, but to classes that I give. If you take like a box or a ball or a cupboard, whatever, and everything that you can put in front, in, on top, over, between, next to, into, behind, all those which you can do with a box. Those are the prepositions. And the proper noun are the names and surnames of people, of places, days of the week, months of the year, anything that you can touch as well is a proper noun. Like in Peter, it's Peter, you can touch Peter. You can know Windhoek, you can touch the buildings in Windhoek. Namibia, Angola, Czechos, whatever. All those with capital letters are proper nouns. That's just a tip for you. But if you can touch something, then it is also a proper noun. Please note that parts of speech has got nothing to do with direct and indirect speech. You have to know the difference between the 2 of them. Synonyms, also in Unit 4, those are a list of words which will be given, from which you will be able to choose the suitable synonyms to replace words used in sentence. Now, a synonym are words with the same or the similar meaning. And the DJPE students will find it on page 405, while the other students will find it in their Lutheran book on page 51. Synonyms are often interchangeable, but the word choice is dependent on the context. So read and understand the sentence before you will know the right synonym. It means that you must read the sentence to see if your answer fits the context of the sentence. For example, the synonym for big can be spacious, it can be massive, it can be enormous. In the following sentence, that is a big tree, the synonym in this case cannot be spacious, but it must be massive. Well, in Unit 1, it is the general and academic listening skills. Listening, oral, ears, those things go together. In the DJPE study guide, it starts on page 15, and in the other study courses, it starts in their study guides on page 11. So the good listening skills in general and social situations, which is very important, and also the non-verbal cues in listening comprehension, for example, intonation, personal space, gestures, and emphasis. Those you can find either on page 17 or on page 12 for the other study guides, in the other study guides, and the JPE will find the non-verbal cues on page 30, and the other students will find it on page 14 in their study guides. Now, the listening skills for note-taking and in academic situations, for example, listening for purpose, meaning, structure, details, main points, opinions, facts, and conclusions, the DJPE students will find on page 51, while the other students will find it on page 15. Now, if I tell you to concentrate on the following, it means know it by heart. You might get it in an exam. So don't ignore all the other information in the unit. But if I tell you to concentrate on the following, it means know it by heart. Now concentrate on knowing the good listening skills and the nonverbal cues. In Unit 2, we concentrate on the general and academic reading skills. Now, it's not listening anymore, it's now reading, eyes. And there the DJPE students will find it on page 77, while the other students will find it on page 19. In Unit 2, you will find the value of reading a lot, the importance and the benefits of reading, which is very important. I can almost guarantee you that you will get that in some other examination. If it's not next year, then it will be in the year after that, but you will get it. The DJPE students will find theirs on page 79, while the other students will find it on page 21. And the features of a competent reader is also very important. So, DJPE, you will find it on page 86, while the other students will find it on page 22. The next subsection is the role of grammar and vocabulary in effective reading. DJPE, page 91, and DPPE, BSP, DS, all the other students on page 23. The comprehension of a written text, DJPE on page 94, and the others on page 23 as well. And the reading techniques, which is also very, very important. You can study that. DJPE on page 146, while the others on page 24 in their study guides. How to read a text or a paper, exam paper, assignment papers, or any magazine critically. By now you know that that question is almost in every single examination. The DJPE will find it on page 153, while the other students will find it on page 26. And how to read a test and examination papers is also on page 1 for DJPE on 158, and the others on page 27. The proper use of a dictionary and a thesaurus, it could be a glossary as well. You can just study that on page 164, and for the DPPE, BESP, DES, DSE, ACSE, and ACPE, students, they will find it on page 28. Again, concentrate on the following questions. Skimming and scanning, the use of a dictionary, a thesaurus, and a glossary, critical reading, competent reader, extensive reading, the value of reading a lot, and how to read your examination paper. A mouthful, but know it by heart, and you won't be sorry. In Unit 3, we had now in Unit 1 the hearing, in Unit 2 the seeing, the eyes, the reading, and in Unit 3 we are now going to the speaking skills. The DJPE students will find it on page 173, while the other students will find it on page 30 in their study guides. The pronunciation of English sounds. That is not that important, but you can go through it. In 3.2, you will find the how to compile a glossary and their meanings per semester. The DJPE will find that on page 184, and the DPPE and BSP, DES, ACP, DSE, ACSE on page 35. 3.3, very important, is your basic interpersonal communication skills, which is the BIGS and the CALP. Also very important. So the DJPE, you can find that information on page 186, while the other students can find it in their study guides on page 36. The oral etiquette in the following situations, like in telephone conversations, you will see that 3.4 is actually a very relevant subsection, and relevant, I mean, which you use in your everyday life. So pay attention to that, because we need it in every day of our lives, whether you are a teacher, whether you are working in the admin block, whether you are working in an office. Those are very relevant subsections which you have to pay attention to. The oral etiquette for the DJPE students is on page 190, while the other students may get it on page 37 in their study guides. And how do you answer a telephone? All your telephone conversations are very important, as you know. So DJPE students can find it on page 191, and the DPPE, BASP, DES, DSE, ACE, and ACPE will find it on page 38. Participation in meetings. How do you prepare? How do you dress? How do you go? What do you have to do during an interview? Very important, because it's relevant. Then 3.4.4 are the warnings, apologies, and stating conditions. Also very important. DJPE, you will find those on page 222 to 225, while the other students will find it on page 45 in their study guides. 3.4.5 are the introductions, the greetings, the welcoming, and the thankings. 3.4.6 are agreeing or praise, and disagreeing and criticize. Also important section. The DJPE will find it on page 226, while the other students can find it on page 47 in their study guides. 3.4.7 is about public speaking and presentation skills. DJPE, you will find it on page 227. The DPPE, BESP, DES, DSE, ACSE, and ACPE will find it on page 47 in their study guides. 3.4.8, interacting with learners in the classroom, with colleagues, with heads of department, with the school principal, with parents. The DJPE students on page 231 and the other students on page 50 in their study guide. Very important. The use of the W questions in gathering information. You have to go through that because it is that is important. And then going to 3.6, the common law guidelines for managing and chairing a group discussion, which will be on page 240 for the DJPE students and for the other students on page 54. Now, as I said, concentrate on the following: on effective communication, all the subsections, communication skills like Biggs and Kelp, oral etiquette, as I've stated, and your non-verbal behavior. Unit 4 are the linguistic constructs. Those are actually, if you speak the language, you will get more confident in being in the language. So the more you speak English, the more you will understand the language. So the linguistic constructs are in Unit 4. For the DJP, it starts on page 243. And don't think because it's Unit 4, don't think it's just practical. It's not that easy. You have to go through Unit 4 to understand what's being asked and how to change the sentences, how to look for the language part of the paper. If you know it, those are easy marks. But if you don't know it, you can lose a lot of valuable marks. The DPPE, BE, SP, DES, DSE, ACPE, and ACSE, you will find those in your Lutheran on page 16 to 56 and in your study guide from page 66 to 68. Now, first of all, we start with the nouns. You have to study all types of nouns. You will have to give your own example of each type of noun given, or be able to choose the correct type of noun to match the given words. The common noun are the ordinary subjects, things that you can touch, table, chair, book, hair, whatever. The proper noun are all those that you write usually with a capital letter. Those are the proper nouns. Names of persons, places, days, and months. And the abstract noun are the things we cannot see. You cannot touch it, you cannot measure it. Things like a friendship, kindness, courage, things that you cannot touch, cannot see, cannot measure. A collective noun is a group of objects or group of people or a group of creatures in a collection. For example, it's like a flight of stairs, a gaggle of geese, a herd of cattle, a school of fish. Those are the collective nouns. A lot of them together, what do we call a lot of them together? And those are the collective nouns. A pronoun, it takes the place of a noun, like, as I've discussed, like me, him, them, we, she, those. A non-countable noun, some nouns are non-countable and are called uncountable nouns or mass nouns. That is like in sand or water or sugar. Those you can't count each granule of sugar. So those are the non-countable or the mass nouns. And then you get the abstract nouns, which is, for example, freedom, love, power, hatred, that sort of. You may be asked to choose the correct type of noun to match the given words. And nouns are in the DJPE study guide on page 253, while the other students will get it in their Lutheran book on page 16. Now going to tenses. You must be able to change the sentences into the simple past tense or in the simple present tense, or could be in the simple future tense as well. For example, he sold pigs and bought etiquette, which is the simple past tense. But now you change it to the simple present tense, which says he sells pigs and buys a ticket. Remember, he, she, and it, those three also get on the verb a s in the present tense. Remember, he, she, and it gets in the present tense a s on the verb. The DJPE students will find these tenses on page 308, while the other students will find it in their Lutheran books on page 28. Now, active and passive voice. That could be of a toffee. You will be asked to change sentences from the active or the passive voice to the passive or the active voice. In the active voice, the subject of the sentence does the action, whereby in the passive voice, the object becomes the subject and is having the action done to it. For example, the children kick the ball into the pool. Now change it. The children is the subject. Kick. The ball is the object. That's the thing the work is done to. The verb is done to. The ball into the pool. Now, as we've said, the object and the subject now change places. Now, instead of putting the children, which is the subject, in front, you change it. And then it becomes the ball is kicked into the pool by the children. So please pay careful attention to this one. DJPE, you will find more exercises and more explanation on page 314, while the other students will find it in their Lutheran book on page 32. Prepositions, which I have explained earlier in the presentation, are the small words that usually relate two words or phrases to one another. As I've said, can you remember the box? Everything you can do in and around the box? Those are the prepositions. On the box, behind the box, off the box, in the box. They also indicate location in space. You must use given prepositions to complete the sentences. In that one, I've noticed that you don't read your sentences properly and you just fill in any preposition. So read the sentence and make sure that it makes sense. Otherwise, the preposition doesn't fit. The DJPE students will find prepositions on page 367, and the other students will find it in their Lutheran book on page 36. Now, the other part of speech which you get confused with is the direct and indirect speech. When you change sentences from the direct to the indirect speech, you must leave out the question mark in the direct question and the inverted commas. Pronouns change. For example, my family changes to his family or her family or our family. The sentence change. For example, Mary said, apostrophe, I am feeling good today, apostrophe, full stop. Then it changes. Mary said, then leave out the apostrophes. Mary said that she was feeling good that day, not today, that day. You must be able to change sentences from the direct speech to the indirect speech and vice versa. DJPE, you will find exercises and practice examples on page 313, while the other students can find it in their Lutheran books on page 38. Prefixes and suffixes. Now, a prefix comes before the root of the word, which is engage, and then it changes to disengage. The suffix comes after the root of the word, which is free and freedom. You will have to complete words in sentences using prefixes or suffixes. You will also be asked to circle or underline the prefix and or the suffix in a given word. That exercises you will get on page 414 for the DJPE students, and the others will find it in their Lutheran books on page 46 and 47. Now, a very nice question to ask all students, the synonyms and the antonyms. Now, a synonym, what is a synonym? A synonym is a word with the same or with a similar meaning. Like I've previously said, big can be enormous, can be massive, can be spacious. Those are all synonyms for one word, which is big. Read your sentences so that you know if the synonym fits into that specific sentence. Antonyms are words with opposite meanings. You will have to give the antonym of a given word. Like in close the door, close is the is the word, and then the antonym for close is open the door. So it's just the opposite. You will be asked to substitute words with suitable synonyms. You can also be asked to use antonyms or synonyms in sentences of your own to show that you understand the meaning. That is very important. DJPE, you will find synonyms and antonyms from page 405 to page 415, while the other students will find it in their Lutheran book on page 48 and on page 52. Homonyms and homophones. Homonyms are words spelled and pronounced in an identical way, but they have different meanings and functions. For example, a band, like in B-A-N-D, could be a group of musicians, but banned, B-A-N-N-E-D, if I am banned, I am forbidden. It may not, you may not, but both words sound the same, but they are spelled different, they have different meanings, they have different functions. Those are homonyms. And DJPE students can find those words on page 415 and the other students in their Lutheran books on page 54. Homonyms, on the other hand, are words with the same sound. Homophones are the words with the same sound, because a phone is a sound. But they differ in spelling and meaning. For example, bear, like in B-E-A-R, is an animal, but bear, B-A-R-E, you can hear they sound the same, but they are different in spelling, which means naked. You can be asked to make sentences with these words to show that you understand the difference in meaning. DJPE, you will find homophones and homonyms on page 427, while the others will find it in their Lutheran book on page 55. Diminutives. Diminutives, I often get it that you don't know what is a diminutive. No, diminutives are the small things. Babies, as I explain it. Those are babies. So diminutives, you have to give the diminutive of a given word. Like, for example, a lion, the baby of a lion is a cub. We get a stream that flows through the garden, but when there is a smaller stream, we call it a streamlet. I can say, for example, a cat, and the baby of a cat is a kitten. Or a frog, the baby of a frog is a tadpole. Those are the diminutives, the babies, the smaller stuff. There's babies. So those are diminutives. You can, if you say the word, you will hear that it sounds a little bit, if it's small. DJPE, find the diminutives on page 285 and the other students will find it in their Lutheran study guides on page 25. Plural and singular, plural, those are stuff that you know by now. You must change sentences into the plural form. For example, the neighbor has a son and a daughter. And usually, when you change the sentence in the plural form, you change actually the nouns. So the neighbor is the neighbors, not has, because if it's more than one, then it changes to are, to had, to have. So the neighbors have sons and daughters. So you can see that you only change the plural, you have to change the tense as well, the tense. So you have to pay attention. If you go to the plural, which is more than one, then you have to change your has, your have, your is, your are, your all that stuff. The DJPE, you will find exercises on this on page 288 in your study guide, and the other students will find it in their Lutheran books from page 28 to page 36. Your verbs, as we have explained earlier in the presentation, your verbs are actually the doing words. You will have to complete a given text or a sentence by using the correct form of the verb in brackets. You can also be asked to circle or underline the correct form of a verb given in brackets. So those are the doing verbs, the doing words. DJPE, you will find exercises on page 308 and the others 28 to 36. Idioms, very important. You'll have to make own sentences with idioms to make the meaning of the idiom clear. Page 377 to 383, and the Lutheran will find it on page. So please do not explain the meaning of the idiom. That's not what we're asking. We ask for the meaning. You will have to use the idiomatic expressions of sentences to show that you understand the meaning. Plagiarism, make sure you know the importance of plagiarism when doing your assignments. Or, you can find the information in front of your study guide under the word of welcome. Make sure you know to use quotes in academic writing to avoid plagiarism. Those you can do, exam preparation, writing the tips. Make sure you know where you write your exam, how long it's going to be. Consult your IOL officers if you don't know. The materials that you need to bring along, your pens, pencils, watch, ruler, glasses. And during the exam, write your details as requested. Read the exam paper a couple of times to make sure you understand the questions. Make sure you know all your questions. Read it carefully and don't spend too much time. If something goes wrong, if you panic, usually happens, advisable, take your breath, 3 deep breaths, it helps. Going blank, you can read this through. And then there's the emergency. You need to take the correct action, obtain high marks. You will need to study. Make sure that you have all the information you got from the sessions and the feedbacks. You will find important and useful information in these sources. So please study hard for the upcoming exams to be successful. If you need my help or anything concerning the study material, you are welcome to contact me outside business hours, either on my email address provided below or on my cell phone. And if I say outside business hours, I would like to point out from 6 in the evening, in other words, 1800 hours, up to 2000. That's then when I can give attention to your questions. I prefer that you contact me via email because then I'm able to give you a well-constructed answer. You can also send me information via WhatsApp on my cell phone, and then just state which course you are doing when you inquire. Everything of the best for the upcoming exams, and there you will find my contact detail. Thank you so much for paying attention.